What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be looking at the Winnipeg Jets and maybe what they could add on the defensive side, maybe around the trade deadline. So I'm going to throw out a few names in this video. I'm going to talk about why I think they're a good fit and, kind of what Winnipeg would have to give up for a defenseman of that caliber. All of the defensemen that I'm going to be talking about in this video are going to be right-handed shot defensemen because the Jets don't really need a lefty right now. I mean, they got Morrissey, Dylan, who's playing incredible, and then of course Dylan Sandberg, who's having a great sophomore season this year. Has been very underrated. Don't think that they need to change anything on the left side. On the right side, you've got Dylan DeMello, who's a great partner with Josh Morrissey, but after that, I mean, Neil Pionk, who, plays great sometimes, isn't that great all the time, and Nate Schmidt, who's in and out of the lineup, playing great sometimes and not so great other times. So adding a right D would be big for Winnipeg, specifically in the top four. We're going to be talking about three defensemen in this video, but I'm going to start off with Shawn Walker from the Philadelphia Flyers. Walker is one of those guys that isn't going to light it up offensively or anything, and you don't really need that, so to say, from your defense, but he is just a really stable player, can really do whatever you want, a really good two-way defenseman. I'm a big fan of his. I've been, pushing the Walker to Winnipeg movement for a little while this season. I think that he'd be a great fit in the top four. I think that he'd be a great upgrade over Neil Pionk, and I don't think that it would cost anything crazy to acquire him. I think, maybe a second round pick and maybe a prospect would be pretty realistic for Walker, depending on, the need and demand. I'm sure that defensemen will be very highly sought after around the trade deadline, like they always are, but I think that he's one that might fly under the radar a little bit because he's just, not a big name, played for the Kings for a few years, and now he's in Philadelphia, where they are actually having a pretty good season, and that might affect his availability. Maybe they ask for a little bit more for him just because of the spot they are in, actually being a playoff team possibly this season. Maybe they do want to go out and make that push. Maybe it would cost a little bit more to part with Walker, but right now I do think that he'd be a solid get for Winnipeg if he does become available. Walker is on the last year of his 4-year deal, which he makes $2.65 million per season, so that would be the cap hit, obviously, and I think he's more than worth it. That is a bargain. He is going to get paid this offseason. He reminds me a little bit of Dylan DeMello, just the way he's so calm and, not just chaos like, Neil Pionk and Nate Schmidt can be at times. So I think that he'd be really nice to stabilize the Winnipeg Jets top four. I think that he'd play very well with Brendan Dillon. I think those guys would be just a phenomenal pairing together. So if the Flyers are looking to get younger and are looking to, look a little bit further into the future instead of, the present, I think that Shawn Walker would be a great addition for Winnipeg if he were to come available. Moving on, we're going to be talking about someone a little bit more well-known, and that's Jakob Chychrun. There's a lot going on over there with the Ottawa Senators right now, and I mean a lot. That team is crazy bad, and really nothing is going their way this season. I do wonder, if they are starting to think, okay, is this the core we are going to have going forward? Is this team, really going to be able to be a winner next season? They thought they were going to be good this year, and, we've obviously seen what's gone on, this season. That has just not come to fruition. I thought Ottawa was going to be a great team this year, and they just really are not. They're the total opposite. Last year, Ottawa came out of nowhere and stole Jakob Chychrun from a lot of the contenders around the league, and he's been a great addition for them. I mean, only 25 years old, 6'2", 205, puts up big offensive numbers. He's got 7 goals, 26 assists in 38 games this year. He would be very good and would be a great addition to the Jets' power play and their top four. I mean, Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello, I don't see a reason that you would break those guys up, but playing Chychrun with a guy like Dylan Sandberg, I think could be a lot of fun. Or even Brendan Dillon, I don't know. We'll see what, happens going forward there with the defensive core and what the pairings look like. But I think that the addition of Jakob Chychrun could be a big one for Winnipeg and could be one of those that, kind of pushes them over the edge a little bit. Of course, they have Josh Morrissey, and he's a top 5 defenseman this year, hands down. He's been playing lights out, got snubbed from the All-Star game, but having a guy like Josh Morrissey on your first pairing and then having Chychrun on your second pairing, I mean, hey, that's pretty scary, and I think that would put Winnipeg in a great position. Now, the only issue with Chychrun is that, one, the Ottawa Senators aren't totally sold on selling yet, and that's totally understandable. I mean, they only acquired Chychrun last season at the trade deadline. I'm sure they would probably like to see where things go with him in the future. However, if they are in a position where they don't think that they are going to be able to retain a guy like Jakob, I wonder if they kind of look to move him now. And if they do decide to move on, Winnipeg only has one hurdle in their way, and it is that no trade list. I mean, that would have to be waived. I'm assuming Winnipeg is on the no trade list. There's a 10-team no trade list. I'm assuming the Jets are on it. They're on pretty much every player's no trade list. So let's just say that Jakob wants to play here, right? $4.6 million for this year and next year would be a steal. Winnipeg would obviously have to pay pretty decent amount for Jacob. I think a first, a third, and probably a pretty decent prospect. Maybe Chaz Lucius going the other way, maybe more, I don't know. It just depends what Ottawa's going to want for him and if they make him available. But if he is available, this would be such an ideal fit for Winnipeg. It would help them on special teams where they have been horrid this year. It would just make them that much scarier up front, having just a really bona fide top four. I think that would be just excellent for this team, something the team really hasn't had in, 5-6 seasons now. I think Chychrun would be an excellent pickup for Winnipeg, and I hope that maybe Ottawa starts to, listen to some calls and maybe open them up. Now, the last defenseman that we're going to be talking about in this video is Chris Tanev from the Calgary Flames. Brother of Brandon Tanev, Chris Tanev is a stay-at-home defenseman and a right-hand shot that is just defense, doesn't really bring a lot to the table offensively, but is just a lockdown guy. He's been one of the best lockdown defensemen in the NHL, really since he's entered, and at 34 years old, he's still playing at a very high level. The Calgary Flames are not a very good team, and I would imagine that they will be fielding calls on him, and I'm sure that there'll be no shortage of suitors. Now, it makes even more sense for a lot of teams to acquire Tanev because of his contract. It is very nice. 1 year left this season at $4.5 million. He's on the last year of a 4-year contract. He does have a no-trade clause, however, but it is only 10 teams, just like Jacob Chychrun, like I talked about before. I do think that there is a better chance of him waiving his no-trade to come to Winnipeg with him being a UFA because he doesn't care where he goes. He just wants to win a cup, right? So look, I think if he is cup chasing, if he does want to go to Winnipeg, try to win a ring, if he wants to re-sign in Calgary, again, in the future, he, definitely can in free agency. But if he wants to go ring chasing, he can definitely waive his no-trade clause. And that goes for really any team that he may have on the no-trade clause. But Chris Tanev, why does Winnipeg want Chris Tanev? He would add to the defense, right? He would add more stability to the lineup for sure, and you can argue that Winnipeg doesn't necessarily need that, with them being one of the best defensive teams this season. They really don't allow the puck to go in their net at all. I mean, we all know the streak. It's 30-plus games now of 3 or less goals. It's incredible what they've done this year. But doubling down on defense might be a good idea. I don't know. If you're able to add a second-line center and then go to town and make it a race to, 2 or 3 goals in the playoffs and just shut it down from there, hey, I think that Winnipeg would be in a really nice spot with Chris Tanev. He's not necessarily my favorite option, but he is an option for sure that I think they will be kicking tires on for sure. And I don't know. I wouldn't be mad at Chris Tanev at all. I just, would maybe like more of a puck moving, maybe a little bit more of an offensive threat to help the power play, but I think Chris Tanev would do equally as much for the penalty kill on defense as well. But those are just some of the defensemen that I think would make sense for Winnipeg to take a look at and maybe, look at acquiring down the road. I think that all 3 of these guys would be great options. I would love to have any of them on my team. So, we'll see what happens, see if any of those guys start to pop up, more frequently in trade talks as the deadline approaches. But with that, guys, I am going to hop on out of here. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, leave a comment down below what you guys thought about the video. Let me know, did I miss anybody? Is there anybody else that you would rather have than these 3 guys? I know Noah Hannafin's out there. He's a left shot, so I didn't include him in this video. He would be fun as well. I would love to have Noah Hannafin. So sound off in the comments down below. And yeah, so leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Go Jets, go! Bye-bye.